I know it's cold out there. There's nothing I can do. Like, it's not that I'm being cruel to animals, but I'm just not ready to bring this rooster inside yet. But, Mabuhay Kamustika, welcome. How are you? This is Bob from Love Beyond the Sea. No, long time no see. Don't remember when we did this last. Probably wasn't as long ago as it seems, but it always seems like a lot of time goes by between doing these live streams for some other reason. So we do have a topic tonight. What we're going to be talking about is dating over 50 and over 20. Now, I say that because there's an article that I'm going to link, and I can go through these points relatively quickly, but some of them will apply to people who are over 20 and not just my age and over 50 when I had to go back out and date. And keep looking. Father Wolf's one, thank you for your presence tonight here on the live stream. We'll talk about dating over 50, but some of these things will apply to somebody at any age, basically. And so we can talk about that tonight. I'm just trying to find my own channel here, just in case I lose you here, because I'm going to be flipping over to, there we go, flipping over so I can see what I'm writing, or what I have written down, but I can't see the comment at the same time, but I can do that on the phone. So at the top here, I have a link for a newsletter that you can sign up for, and I can send straight to your email address a newsletter from Love Beyond the Sea that will tell you what the upcoming live is and when it is and what time. Also, there'll be a classic video on there, a recent video. I can put some behind the scenes YouTube statistics on there. Appreciate the thumbs up. And I can mention maybe a topic in one of the community corner message boards. Would like to see that filling up. It's a great place, actually, for people just to talk in private. When you sign up there to the community corner, that's actually the second link there on the right of the screen. You can sign up for that and post comments, reply to comments, get involved with direct messaging, private chats. And that's open to anybody that has a can-do attitude about relationship with a foreign woman, somebody that would like to know more about a relationship with a woman overseas, somebody that hasn't given up, thrown in the towel yet. We have a relationship lounge there. Talks about attracting, building, and maintaining long-term relationships with both foreign women and abroad. There's also a lifestyle lounge, discussion regarding fitness, money, health, career, expat living, nutrition, crypto, general travel, hobbies, and other lifestyle topics. And Mr. E has made a WordPress blog site for all things related to the channel. You can click on that third link there, and you can see, his commentary and my articles and videos, my wife's channel, the message forum. What else? My Twitter and Facebook site are on there too. So all in one, incredible work by Mr. E, who is also going to attempt to get this channel on BitChute transferred over as a precaution, just in case things backfire with YouTube. Maybe I say something that doesn't sit well with people, or maybe they phase out certain channels. Who knows? Other people have been talking about maybe a safer place to go, just in case. So this gentleman is really interested in helping this channel grow to help men find love overseas. So in addition to everything else he's done, while remaining a mystery, Mr. E is now trying to get the channel on BitChute. So I hope everybody had a great Thanksgiving. I hardly remember it even happening, to be honest with you, but I think it was okay. So please chime in tonight as we talk about dating over 50 or over 20. I didn't have any success, to be honest with you, in my 20s or 30s or 40s. It wasn't until I found my wife on Christian Filipina when I was 53 did I have any success there at all. So this is a really good article, and I'll probably be able to just put all the points in bullet point fashion in the comment section of this video if I can fit it all in there. So just a reminder to subscribe to Love Beyond the Sea. Most of the watch minutes on this channel are from people that are not subscribed. So I'm just going to make an appeal to those people that um, like the channel to subscribe to it, since they make up most of the views here for probably the last 4 or 5 months in a row. And I appreciate the subscribers. And well, I just know I have a lot of people who are watching, and the views are up, and the subscriptions are up too. But still, most of the views are by non-subscribers. So I just encourage you to subscribe to this channel. I've got a lot more in the vault to go. We've got a trip coming up in the Philippines, and we're doing all we can to help the cause of helping men to find love overseas. So to do that, a person kind of has to get out there in the dating scene again. So it's just some statistics here. They had, according to Census data, more than a quarter of adults between the ages of 45 and 59 are single. In fact, there are 19.5 million unmarried Americans over 65. So while this is just a brief introduction from the article, however, while there may be plenty of fish in the sea, finding a real catch is easier said than done, especially if Nixon was in office the last time you went on a first date. And I'll have to check, but it might have been that way for me. After all, the dating world today is much different than it was 20 years ago. So how can over 50 singles re-enter the dating scene with confidence? They've got a bunch of tips here, and we'll just kind of work through them one at a time. And feel free to interject whenever you are or would like to do that. I will try to see if I can keep up with the comments here on my phone. I'm new to the channel. Rike had you as a highlighted channel. Well, I appreciate that from Rike, Father Wolf One. If you're looking for information on the Philippines, Life Beyond the Sea was probably the first one I came across after I married my wife. I honestly didn't know there even were channels before then. When I got back from the Philippines and started the visa process, then I started looking around YouTube, and I saw his channel, which was extremely captivating and informative, and I thought I could learn from that about the Philippines, even though I was married and wasn't planning on living in the Philippines. But right now we are planning on thinking about doing that at retirement age. So very grateful if he had me as a highlighted channel. I really appreciate that. He still has a tremendous channel, and we may be bringing our love beyond the sea again. I found my wife there, my love beyond the sea. She found her love beyond the sea. Now she came beyond the sea. Now we may go back over there together. And this channel is not about the Philippines, of course, but it's about that all-important relationship with a Filipina. Parabiology 101, good to see you. Now, this is December, 6th? So you're in the Philippines right now, aren't you? Parabiology, if you are, it's about 8 o'clock in the morning there. So that might be the time I try to do some lives in the Philippines. 8 o'clock in the evening would be about 6 p.m. here in the States. Try to keep it on the same timeline. So dating over 50, even over 20, avoid internalizing rejections. Whether you've been single for some time or just gotten back into the dating scene after a long relationship, Nobody likes feeling rejected. However, they say here from the article, try not to take it personally when you don't match with someone on a dating site or don't hear from them again for a while. They say social media has improved dating, increasing the selection of people you can meet, but it's also posed some problems too. One of those issues is the ease in rejecting people. In fact, on some platforms, with a simple swipe to the left or to the right, you can reject someone, but this rejection is not to be taken to heart, says one of the writers there. They say, with how many people you can meet online, think of rejection as a time saver as opposed to something that is wrong with you. And that's very good advice, because that rejection, if you call it that, is probably going to be happening more often than not. But you must continue to strive to keep going forward and not letting those rejections bother you, not internalizing them, not making them out to be more important than they are. It will be critical, I think, in you going out being confident, and not give up and go out to find somebody. I certainly had my share of rejection, and you don't even know. I've had it in person and I've had it online, but you never really know. Is it because somebody tells you, well, they've got a boyfriend? Do they really? You just never know. But when you get shut out, a lot of times it can hurt your confidence. And the thought of saying, well, this is just going to get me sooner to the right person, I think that's the healthiest way to look at it. Sorry, parabiology, that your plans got canceled. Okay, yeah, you had a disc slip out, became herniated in your back. Are you going to be able to change your dates without paying a fortune? Because we had to change our dates because of a work conflict that we didn't know was going to be a conflict. And so we're still going. We're just going 6 days later, and we're going to stay 3 days. No, we're going 9 days later, staying 3 days longer. So it's still going to be 6 less days of our trip, but we will be leaving the day after Christmas. And I hope, parabiology, you can, I don't know, have some kind of a way with an injury to get your dates changed without having to pay a fortune. So I think since we're going over the holidays still, that probably factors into it for us. So handling rejection, not taking it hard, very important. Now, having said that, with a Filipina, I don't think rejection is going to be your problem. Your biggest problem online with a Filipina will be trying to narrow down your search, because there will be a lot more interest and a lot of wanting to message you and do webcams, and not so much rejection. So that's a good thing. It can also be a bad thing if you let it get to your head that there's so much interest in you from the Philippines. But go ahead and lick your wounds before you try something like overseas, because you're probably going to have a lot more opportunities at success and not deal with as much rejection. Len Gibb, good to see you tonight. Hello from, my wife isn't here to pronounce these names for me. Is this Lati? Possibly. Parabiology, the change fee irrelevant to me compared to other factors. Well, hopefully that means you're going to be just fine with that. And thanks, Len Gibb, for joining me. You're new to this channel, and I believe, and we're just talking about dating over 50 or over 20, because there are things that anyone can use, like not internalizing rejections. Well, we all feel rejection. Maybe especially if we're younger. Maybe when we're older, we've learned to shrug that off easier, but it still hurts. Another point from this article about dating is consider expanding your usual age limits. Even if you've only dated people around your age in the past, they say, why limit yourself now? While dating someone 10 or 20 years older or younger than you may have been a big deal in your 20s and 30s, you will likely realize there isn't that much of a difference between a mature 38-year-old and a 58-year-old, or even between a 50 and 70 something. And naturally, this makes me think about finding a Filipina. Um, my wife and I have a 27-year age gap, and not I'm not advocating that for everybody. But last night, my wife pointed out that Bruce Willis had a younger wife, and I didn't know that, so I started. I thought she kind of resembled Demi Moore a little bit, but as a new wife, I think he that said he was pushing 60, so he's not quite, and she was 35, so I think they had a 23-year age gap. They looked at other celebrities, 24, 25, 18-year age gap, and I'm thinking, man, we have a 27-year age gap, and there's still many others with much larger age gaps than that. So I know not all men are interested in a younger woman, and they don't have to be. They have their reasons for that. But for me, I put my filter or age range on what did I do at that time? 20 to 30, and they had no trouble having people to choose from. And if I had had, let's say, 20 to 40, that would have increased it even more, and it would have been really difficult to kind of work through everyone. But I got plenty of videos on how we did that. So expanding your usual age limits doesn't have to be to that extent, but for those that are saying, well, I prefer just within a couple of years of me, which is very normal here in America, one thing you can do to help your chances finding a spouse is to expand your usual age limits. Another point here mentioned is easing into talking about sensitive subjects on dates. Many 50 somethings have built careers and businesses and are putting children through college and have even faced some health issues. But on the first few dates with someone, it is not appropriate to focus on how much money they have in the bank and if they have health issues. The first few dates should be getting to know each other's personality, a little bit about their family, likes, a few dislikes, and fun life experiences. If date one jumps right to the serious and tough parts of life that even take toll on the strongest couple, you may be weeding out, or they may be weeding out, some really amazing people to have fun with. Also, don't be afraid to make your needs known. Just because you may not be 22 anymore doesn't mean you have to accept any kind of relationship that's offered to you. If you're over 50 and still want to play the field, or you're looking for someone who shares a passion for traveling instead of spending nights in, it's your prerogative to be honest about those wishes. Don't compromise and find yourself in a relationship that you don't really want. Another point they make here is to embrace your age. They say feel confident and sexy as opposed to finding ways to hide your age or to lie about it. At some point, your age is going to come forward anyway. Don't lie about it today and then have to find ways to come forward with the truth after you really like someone. Talk about fun life experiences you have had and the goals you still have. Show your age and wisdom in fun, exciting ways that make people want to be a part of your journey. This point is not really a problem with a man looking for a wife in the Philippines, because very frequently he is looking for someone much younger, and so he can find that. He should still not feel like he is ashamed to be talking to a younger woman. What matters is he going to be good to her? Is he going to be a good husband and take care of her? Be the man he's looking for, because he can find a great wife in the Philippines just as I did. He may, if he's totally brand new to this, might be a little shy about his age, but I would just say there's really no reason to. The Filipinos I talked to were quite easy to talk to, and really didn't make me feel nervous at all. Jay Bud, welcome Jay Bud here tonight to Love Beyond the Sea live stream. Should I say anything to Mr. E? Well, you can I don't know if Mr. E will be tuning in tonight, but with that link to the Love Beyond the Sea newsletter, which I think is, excuse me, the second link to the community corner, you can talk to him in person and private, um, because there's direct messaging, there's topics in the relationship lounge and the lifestyle lounge, and that's something I'll keep talking about. But essentially, we want this channel to be about people who are willing to make improvements, whatever improvements could be made, to help them to find a wife, overseas, especially anywhere in the world. And so we have that community corner there, for people to share ideas with. Um, so yeah, you can always send a message to the enigmatic one. So age, not really a problem if you're over 50 looking for a wife overseas. A point they make here is listen attentively. If you haven't been on a date in some time, it may be hard to contain your excitement, which means you end up talking more than listening. However, if you're eager to land a second date, make sure you're actively listening to the person you're with. Feeling heard goes a long way toward building trust. One of the videos I have in the vault to make is on good listening habits, and that's something that will help you when you're out on a date, and certainly so will just trying to relax, and being a good listener will help you in marriage as well. J Bud says, don't want to get rejected, don't play. MGTOW. Well, nothing ventured, nothing gained, by the same token. And I'm not essentially here to sway or dissuade MGTOWs in their way of thinking, but that is true. Just don't get involved, don't get rejected. Some people take it to such an extreme that um, they let themselves go, and I'm talking especially of women now. They will let themselves go so that they have an excuse to get rejected. Then they rationalize that the rejection is easier to handle because of they need to lose a lot of weight, and so they let themselves go, thinking somehow it's mixed up, but the rejection hurts, and they're actually trying to go out of the way to get rejected, and then say, see, this didn't work, it's never going to work, that's okay, and somehow I think their goal is to ease the pain from rejection by not getting rejected, by putting themselves in a situation where they would not get accepted. But that doesn't that doesn't end up in finding somebody. And if there's a temperament that has to be changed, or something about your appearance, that your overall health, that you can do, that's a good thing to do. um, I know I've made a lot of eating change habits in my lifetime. When I was younger, I mean, I just didn't care. I ate really foolishly. Um, then the older I got, the more I realized that that was just being foolish, and I really needed to think about that, and some other things. I know people are saying, "Got to change your hair," and well, I actually did, and then I would change it again, and then I got married, and my wife kind of likes it shorter, so it's growing on me too. Are we talking about dating long distance online, which isn't really dating, or dating in person? That's another salient comment from J Bud. Well, this is me talking. Is online dating even dating? And that's actually, unless you must have access to my vault, J Bud, because that's one of my video topics to come. I've actually got 220. I'm not lying. Topics that I have written completely. Um, and I've been home here after surgery for like 10 weeks and a little bit of vacation. I have nerve damage in my foot after the knee replacement, but I expect to go back next week and not have much time. So I haven't really gotten out and moved around much, but I have been able to work on the channel. Al Gibbs, hey, Al, good to see you here tonight. We're talking about dating over 50. Anybody feel free to interject as I go over these points from a website that will be linked in the description box. So we're talking about, well, I mean, it goes both ways. I guess it will depend on which point we're at here, as far as we're talking online or dating in person. Rejection can be noticed whether you're online or in person. Expanding your age limits, that can go online or in person. Ease into talking about sensitive subjects. Even young people can find somebody online and, depending on the situation, jump right into a sensitive topic. So that would apply in both cases, which is the reason I titled the title this way. Don't make friends being, don't be afraid to make your needs known. Um, Embrace your age. That's more for an older person, but and listening attentively. I think it'll apply to both of them. So you just kind of have to apply everything here to your own situation. Um, and you have a question mark behind, which isn't really dating, online dating. Um, I think I don't remember everything I put in my video because it was a while ago that I actually prepared that, but I think it is because your goal is the same. You are separated by a lot of distance, but that camera brings you as close as we are right now, and where you can see body language. You have a chance to ask any question you want. You can use a mobile device and go with each other wherever you are. I think it's even better in the one way because you're not there together. I think you're not going to screw around as much. You're not going to waste time. You're not going to waste time getting physical, which can really complicate things. And so, if it's regular and that woman is communicating with you and you are communicating with her, then as far as I'm concerned, those people have a relationship. It's a dating relationship. Um, they're probably, hopefully, making an increasing priority to be together and talk about those questions that I have in those several videos on questions to ask at different stages, and making their needs met and known, and what they're shooting for in the relationship, being very honest. And as what frequently happens, they end up getting married. So throughout the process and the end result, it sounds like dating to me. So I think I did this one already. Okay, another point here about dating, um, at any age, really. And this one here is more for somebody over 50. Don't expect things to be the same as when you were 20. Dating isn't necessarily the formal affair it was when you were younger. So don't assume that you need to get your best suit ready, buy flowers, get your hair done just to grab a cup of coffee with someone. Similarly, now that you're older, don't expect that things will get physical as fast as they did when you were younger. Now, I hardly can compare the two, dating, in my 20s or 50s, because I didn't have much success. Thankfully, before it was too late, I decided to go look overseas for a wife. In less than 8 weeks, I had one. I was married, and now we've been married 4.5 years. Jay Bud says Facebook Messenger is free in the Philippines, and Filipinos, even in the most remote provinces, play online, and that's a good thing for them, um, because, well, they say Philippines is the Facebook capital of the world. Um, Facebook is one way, certainly a good way to talk to a Filipino. Some of them will use other online apps as well. But to me, and if you look at the statistics, they're increasing as far as the percentage of people whose relationship actually starts online. So, I mean, not online relationships don't just stay that way. Eventually, a man's going to, even if it's another state in this country, he's going to go visit her, or another city. Or if it's in another country, it will take longer because he needs time off of work and it's a little bit more expensive. But he should be pretty serious about somebody to venture, thousands of miles away. So I would say he's looking for a relationship and he already has some relationship established. And so I think that's very, very legitimate. Jay Buds, so don't sweat rejection until you chat a girl often. Yeah, and earlier on, Jay Bud, we were just talking about rejection. That was the first point in the article. I don't know if it's the most important to what order they're in, but that's the first thing people think of is I don't want to get rejected. I've been rejected a lot. Well, what if they reject me? Well, if they do, move right on to the next person. Don't dwell on it too hard because you can just make yourself miserable. And I really have respect for people that can just go up to others cold in person, start talking, ask somebody out on a date. I don't know if that takes a lot of practice or just a lot of innate ability and confidence, but that's they're still going to get rejected. Even people that are comfortable talking to women are still going to be rejected. And I know it's easy for me to say now that I have a wife and I don't have to worry about that, but um, I guess if there's one of these points to take away tonight, then don't worry about rejection. J Bud, very common for girls to chat guys, a lot of guys at the same time, and that's I'm not going to disagree with you there. I know that, or I believe that a woman there in the Philippines prefers to have just one guy to be dating with and to be investing her time in that guy. But it works both ways. That guy has to be willing to do the same. So, if he's saying, well, I'm just kind of kicking things around with 4 or 5 women, I'll be honest and tell you that. And she says, well, I'll be honest and I'll be looking around at other guys too. Then I don't know. To me, that's not a great recipe for getting things done quicker. One of the videos I did a live on, and I think I'm going to release an uploaded version in the next week or so, is about chatting with several or chatting with one, and which way I thought was more productive. And essentially, I think that's trying to just focus on one at a time because, if something doesn't seem right, you just can move on to somebody else. The quicker you do that, the quicker you'll find somebody. And it's kind of like being rejected. Well, then it's the faster you can move on to somebody else. It might be the right one. Um, and So I that's what we did, and I think that was a key to getting married so fast, which wasn't my goal. I didn't set out to get married that fast. Um, but when you realize how many choices you actually have, you start thinking, I'm never going to be able to make up my mind. So if you're not experienced with Filipinos on dating sites, just be warned, you're going to have a lot of people wanting to meet you. And the more practice you get chatting them, the better you can filter the serious ones from the time wasters, Jay Bud says. A very excellent comment. Um, I don't know why my nose itches like this, but it's frustrating. Um, Maybe that means I'm lying about something. No, I'm not. Believe me. The more practice, yeah, that's true. And when you're nervous at first, you could miss some things because you're nervous. Maybe you just haven't been talking to anybody for a while. Maybe you've never talked to a younger, pretty Filipina before. You've never talked to somebody in the other side of the world, and the whole thing just seems weird. And maybe you're not convinced it's the right thing to do. Then your mind might not be as sharp and as focused. But when you get relaxed and you can talk to some, even if you don't make any commitment, hey, let's go steady, you're going to gain confidence. Jay Bud's exactly right there. The more practice, experience, whatever you want to call it, chatting with a Filipina or anyone else, the more you're relaxed you're going to be. That's just natural. So that's a good incentive to just get out there and start making some small talk. Now, as far as photos, which comes in here because so many relationships start online, they say use photos on your online dating profile that reflect how you look currently. While it may be tempting to obscure your lines, like up here, and wrinkles by using a filter or by posting an antique image or far off photo, why didn't I think of that? There are plenty of people out there eager to date people who look just like you, just the way you are. Now, I know we all kind of uh, get upset with women that, you're not sure they really look that way. Well, I guess guys can use some of these techniques too, using a picture that's 5 years old or something like that. And there are filters that, yeah, they can say that's me, and I just took that picture yesterday. However, the filter can kind of make them look a little bit different. Or a recent picture, I've seen this where the woman is quite a distance away from the camera, and you really can't tell what they look like. Or even worse, they'll show themselves in a picture with a group of people, and you don't know which one they are because they didn't say for sure. So that's kind of frustrating too. So I would agree with this. Use a picture that reflects how you currently look. Another tip they say, send a few flirty texts. Who says that a little digital flirtation is out of the question just because you're over 50? While we're not suggesting you send anything explicit to your date, a text reminding them that you can't wait to see them again can go a long way. Aiza and I sent a lot of messages on Viber, um, stickers, messages, and I still have Viber today. I guess I'm kind of sentimental. We don't use it a whole lot because of using other things, but I still like to use it because that reminds me of the good old days. And yeah, it's great, to flirt um, on text. It's a little easier than doing it in person, but like anything else, the more you do it, the easier that gets. Jay Bud, a lot of girls are embarrassed at their poor English skills. Sometimes you can feel rejected when they're actually shy. And so what a man would want to do if he recognizes that, Jay Bud and everyone else, is just say, you know, hey, I can understand you, okay. I mean, if you can't, be honest about that. But if you can, just let them know about that. And it may be they could speak better, but they're nervous, and so they just they don't. It's hard for them to get the words out. Now, I think my wife's family probably speaks. Some of them speak better English than I'm aware of, but I think she's told me before they get nervous around me or shy or embarrassed that they don't want to come out and say things that I would feel like, oh, how can they pronounce things like that? But I cannot. I have a hard time with Filipino words, so um, that's just the way it is. You have to give an A for effort when somebody's trying to communicate that way. And you know what? Even if she did not have fluent English, I don't see that being a problem in a relationship. I know of guys that online, looking at YouTube, that have married and dating people. They need an interpreter, or at least they figure eventually they won't need an interpreter. But wow, that's definitely not something I would do. But even if you can make her out, her what she's trying to say, and that will continue probably after getting married. But the more you two can learn to communicate and know what the other person is thinking, and using body language and getting more used to the language, I don't think they have to be fluent. So that's a good comment, Jay Bud. Speak slowly. There you go. They have to translate English into their dialect in their mind. Great point, Jay Bud 5000. That I don't believe I've mentioned in any video that I've done, or even personal email, and that is speak slowly. Um, we tend to speak way too fast to somebody that's not used to our language, and they do the same thing. It's like, well, if you just slow down, maybe I can pick things up. So it certainly is an excellent idea to slow down when you're talking to a Filipino. Yes, that is definitely. And J Bud, interject not to use slang words they won't understand, and that is absolutely correct. They won't understand. We have so much slang in this language, and it's more and more all the time. I love words. I always have. I'm just amazed at how many new words they are. They might not be official words, but they're words you hear, and so they really are words, even though maybe they haven't been adopted officially yet. And so it can be extremely difficult to know what people are saying. Sometimes the words have, you know, opposite meanings sometimes depending on the context. So yeah, that is good advice. Don't use slang, speak slowly. Hank Hilliam, thank you for joining us this Friday evening, first Friday in December. I reckon it is okay to use slang words as a means to teach them. Well, that's true, because then you're saying that, you know, when I say this, this is what I mean, and when you hear someone say this, this is what they're saying. It's just like certain expressions. I'm sure there are expressions, many of them that we have there that we use to get a larger point across that she hasn't heard. So you do kind of have to slow down when you're with a Filipina if she's a little bit hesitant and not confident in her English, is to think about where she's at, go slower. And if you're going to use slang, like Hank says, use it to in the sense of explaining, well, this is what people are saying when you hear this term. Um, well, no, it would not be cooler if she didn't speak English, CJ. Wouldn't have to talk. Well, you want to be able to talk because communication is so important. And there's nonverbal communication too, um, which is very important because sometimes situations come up, you don't know what to say. Let's say it's a very bad situation, and all you can do is hold her or something, and you communicate a lot. You can communicate by not saying anything too. Um, well, obviously that brings to mind Tampo, where they're communicating something, absolutely, but they want you to figure out. Um, and sometimes it's best to not say anything at all, just to not avoid your temper getting the best of you. So I think communication is just a fantastic thing. Peace and quiet. Well, there is something to be said for peace and quiet. There is something to be said for not saying some things that will only get you in trouble. You know, count to 10, count to 20, go out for a walk if you have to, go to the gym if you're upset. But, actually words can really, really get us into trouble. J Bud, they will ask, what are you looking for? Be ready to answer them. Talking about dating now, what are you looking for? Filipina says to you, what are you looking for? If it were me, since I've been through this process, although I pretty much took the initiative to state that, I would say I'm looking for a wife. I'm not looking here to play games. Um, I'm not looking here to use anybody or to be used by somebody. I want to get married. Here's why. And I've heard a lot of good things about Filipinas. Never tried this before, but here I am, and looking for somebody who can, you know, fill in the blanks. So this is not a time when they ask you what you're looking for to have never thought about that before. Like, well, let me get back to you in a week. What am I looking for? So that would not be a good way to start it. So yeah, I guess there is some preparation a guy needs before going online. Like think about uh, should you meet somebody that you're looking for, how ready are you to start, being somewhat serious with them. Back to the article, one of the many points here: ask someone out, even if you've never done it before. They say, even if asking someone out has never crossed your mind before, why not give it a try? While it takes little bravery the first time, once you get a yes, you'll have the confidence you need to do it again. Well, if this article is for people over 50, I would assume by now they have asked somebody out before. So I thought number 10 here was just a little bit odd when I saw it for the first time. They also suggest try an age-specific dating site. This is good advice. Don't want your online profile to get lost in a sea of 20-somethings on your average dating site. If you're in your 50s, try an age-specific one instead. Sites like Our Time or Silver Singles make it easy to find someone who just isn't fine with your age, but is specifically looking for someone your age. I was 53. I was aware of Our Time. I didn't know what Silver Singles was, but it sounds like much the same thing. And I really was looking for somebody younger than I was. Now, obviously, in my 20s, I was looking for someone the same age. In my 30s, I was looking for someone the same age. In my 40s, I was probably assuming I would find somebody in their 40s. Once I turned 50, kind of got the impression the women were looking for someone younger than they were, like 48 or something like that, and they didn't want to date someone that was 53. There's another obstacle there. Like, well, now what? Am I too old to date anybody here in America? So I joined Christian Filipina, not because I decided, well, I can get a younger wife there. The thought really hadn't crossed my mind before because I was so determined to find somebody here. And it was actually suggested to me by somebody else. And I thought, well, they just said it. They didn't say find a younger wife this way. But I just thought, you know what? It's now or never. I got to do something different or nothing's going to change. So you can read or listen all about that on the channel. But that's true. Depending on the site, it might be best to streamline it if you're looking for somebody, in that, what do they call it, age-specific dating site, and try it that way. Another point is to don't get hung up on your past relationships. A painful divorce or the 30 happy years you spent together before your spouse's death might weigh heavily on your mind, but that doesn't mean stuff like that is appropriate first date fodder. When in doubt, save the talk of your past relationships for later down the line. That is excellent advice. They also suggest master a skillful compliment. No matter what your age, everyone loves a thoughtful compliment. To ensure that your flattery isn't misconstrued, try to make your initial compliments about your date's personality or physical features from the neck up, like you have such a winning smile, or I just love your sense of humor. You're aiming for being charming, not creepy. They also suggest ask a friend to introduce you. Don't feel ready to brave the online dating scene? Ask a friend to set you up. By the time you're in your 50s, your friends likely know some other folks who are dating and also want to avoid downloading Tinder. They also talk about put together some new outfits, probably talking about women here. If they say if you don't feel good about the way you look, you're going to be preoccupied when you go on a date. Taking an absence from the dating world may have you feeling out of touch, insignificant, or flat out odd. Nothing is sexier than confidence, so make sure you take the time to refresh your wardrobe, practice yoga, or work out. So this is by a woman, Maria Sullivan, dating expert and vice president of dating.com. The point, do whatever it takes to boost your self-esteem. Another point is get some advice from friends who've started dating again. Have your friends found love after 50? Ask them for tips. If you have children or younger friends you feel comfortable talking to about dating, get their input. You'll be surprised at what kind of advice they have to give. You may notice the dating culture today is much more different than what it used to be, and these loved ones can be great resources and confidence boosters. Another point to consider here is getting to know each other before meeting in person. Just because someone is interested in meeting you doesn't mean you need to schedule an in-person date immediately. Jumping straight back into dating after a long break may be weird at first. Test the waters by starting conversations with multiple people, suggests Sullivan. Once you feel you found your groove, you can take the next step and meet for coffee or for dinner. They also mention going Dutch, being patient on dating apps. Just because you don't instantly find your inbox flooded with messages from potential partners doesn't mean there isn't someone out there waiting to meet you. Even for people much younger than you, dating is still a process, so be patient with both yourself and your potential partners. I can tell you that with a Filipina dating site, being patient isn't going to be really something you need to concern yourself with. It will be sorting through all of the potential contacts for you there. Um, so it'll be very exciting, but you'll have to roll up your sleeves and go to work and pretty much make it a full-time job. Another point here, never trash talk your ex. Even if your ex left you with a mountain of debt or some deep-rooted trust issues, do your best not to trash talk them to your early dates. While the end of your last relationship is bound to come up at some point if you keep seeing someone. If you say malicious things about your ex, your date might peg you as an unkind or cruel person and be less than eager to go out again. So, yeah, you don't want to go out and vent about a bad relationship that you have had, because that would certainly make a negative impression. Al Gibbs, Bob, thanks for sharing all this helpful, practical information. You are most welcome. I've been watching you for some time now. I believe you'd be a worthy counselor. More and more men are at wits' end with Western women. That's the impression I get, Al, which is, we've done some videos on the West. Mr. E has done some commentary on that, and I've had a commentary on his commentary. That's just kind of background of where we're at. We know people are hurting. We know people are demoralized. We know people are wondering if a real relationship is just like a fable or a movie or only found on what's that network? Lifetime network? That doesn't sound quite right. Movies. Everybody falls in love. You can see it coming. Aiza likes those movies. But it's not a fantasy. It is hard work. Sometimes it's dusting yourself off, licking your wounds, thinking about a different strategy to try to get back out there. One thing that's worked for a lot of us is going overseas where the climate is different. Mr. E calls it offshoring your love. Well, it does work. I mean, you can get scammed there, but you can get scammed here in the West. But there are women who have made other men excellent wives, and they're willing to relocate from another country. It's usually the man, though, that has to pay for their immigration. And if they really care about that person, they think they're legit, then if they can do that, they certainly will. And many of us have. It's not like we changed 100%, and made all these changes ourselves, and then we found somebody. We just tried something different with a woman in a different culture, with unaffected. Um, if they are in, let's say, a provincial area of the Philippines, likely to be unaffected by feminism, although you think in a manner of decades, that's just going to spread. So maybe now it's a good chance to get in there. But the guys are hurting. Some of them go MGTOW. Some of them go MGTOW and can be calm and look at things more clearly than others, while others go MGTOW and they're very bitter and angry. And So that too. But what my interest is, and Mr. E has been, you can't believe the work this guy has done to help try to move this channel forward. And I want it to be here when I die, and I want it to affect thousands and thousands of men who can hopefully find some what's the word, incentive, inspiration to do what I did and what others have done, and do something they've never done before, and that's try to find somebody overseas. Um, you know, I'm not using mirrors in this channel. We're going to talk about the things that you can do to screw things up, like your words or your temper or your impatience or your selfishness. We have to talk about all of those things through the years, because it's a journey. The marriage, that's, you might have dated for 2 or 3 or 4 years, but it's just starting, I think, when you get married. And so then there's another journey. If there was one before that, you just started another one, and there's a lot to learn. And I just hope to disseminate that information, roll it out, as time goes by. Michael and Heidi, thanks for joining tonight. Again, I didn't announce it, but I do have a link there at the very top of the, what do they call it, live chat. One of them, the top one, is for the newsletter. If you want to get an email newsletter from here that will tell you the time and date, topic of the next live stream, you can just click on that link and just put in an email address there. I think it's as simple as that. And then when I decide I think I'll do a live stream, I can just send that to everyone on the list. And we're just getting started with that. That's even newer than the community corner, the message boards, where people come, and it's got just like a message forum. You can do a search, see what topics have been talked about, just join in, start talking, private chats, and so on. And then so the news feature, I've been practicing on this newsletter on this what do you call it, my wife's laptop, because I'd like to do live streams from the Philippines when we get there after Christmas. So I need to know how to send these newsletters out from there. So I think I've got all of those changes down, but that's just something you can do to keep in touch, because I know with so many notifications, if you subscribe to a bunch of channels, you're going to miss some. So this is just a way to send that to you. They'll have a classic video in there, and one that you probably have not seen before, and some statistics on how the channel is doing, and maybe mention a particular topic in the message forums, and that's from the newsletter sign up link. And Big Rob, thanks for being here, Big Rob. I appreciated your last video. I really think you're excellent with the video technique stuff. What do they call that? Graphics and the like. You're really good at that. Another point here is we are talking about dating. And feel free to chime in, Big Rob, because I know you are well on your way to finding your wife. And we're talking here about the dating experience, which we all have to go through, online or in person. So that's what the topic is here tonight. The point they make here in this article is respond to messages in a timely manner. Now, that can be hard to do when you're trying to find a Filipina and you're getting 100 messages a day. That's going to be tough to do. But here's what they say about that. Even if you're not the most tech-savvy person, it pays to follow some basic etiquette rules when online dating, including responding to messages in a timely manner. Well, it may not seem like much to you. The online dating world moves fast. So if you haven't written back to someone in a few days, they'll likely assume you're not interested. And I would agree with that. When I was doing this on American dating sites, I always felt like that. If it wasn't a day or two, then they must not be interested. Yeah, you bet, Big Rob, and I certainly hope that your trip out there is everything you want it to be, and you have some really good footage that you can remember for the rest of your life. Another point mentioned here about dating: look up your prospective dates online before meeting. You can do that now. Before you agree to meet someone you met online, look them up first. Even a cursory Google search can bring up everything from their work information to their mugshot. Always better to be safe than sorry. Talk yourself up online. You may not feel as confident dating at 50 as you did at 25, but that doesn't mean you should let that show on your dating profile. Well, nobody wants to be a braggart, and I had a video about that. Portraying yourself as the happy, fulfilled person you are can go a long way when you're looking to meet someone new. Another tip here for dating in today's day and age: don't divulge any private or sensitive information. So you met Mr. or Mrs. Right online, and now they're asking you to deposit a check for them before you can meet in person. If any of your potential partners are asking you about sensitive issues early on in your relationships, like your finances or medical history, that's a major red flag and a sign that you should shut things down. Big Rob says online dating can be quite a challenge, and I always advise people to do your research. There are so many scammers online, and women get scammed, men get scammed. Um, just just not sending money before you're committed to each other, I guess, by way of marriage or even engagement. Um, that saves you a lot of trouble, because a guy could think, well, I haven't had any success for a long time. I'm getting older. I'm going to dazzle somebody with my generosity. And what could happen is they're just going to think, wow, I just struck it rich, in a place where, um, let's say, $2,400, $2,500, $3,000, that could be enough to live for a year. So, just a little can go a long way, but it can also make the wrong impression. You take advantage of the Filipina that is concerned about her reputation and her character, and what others think, especially the guy that's contacting her. She's not going to ask you for money. And if you ask to give it to her, she's probably going to reject that, um, and say no. So listen carefully to her reasons if she says that. Another point: have your first date somewhere public. Your safety is paramount. And when it comes to dating at any age, so don't agree to have your early dates at your home. Meet somewhere public for your first few dates. Get to know the person you're seeing before showing them your place or going to theirs. I think that is definitely good advice. Also, good advice to let someone know where you'll be going. If you're meeting someone for the first time, play it safe. Let a friend or family member know where you will be. At the very least, they can come rescue you if your date just isn't a good fit. They suggest also trying a new hobby. Having a hard time meeting new people, try out a hobby, join a gym, pottery class, hit up a dog park with your canine companion. These are all great ways to meet people who share your interests. Now, for some of us, that didn't work. So, or somebody there is at something like this, but they already have a husband or they have a wife. They're not single. And so I always thought, well, why go sign up for something and commit myself to something and end up having nobody there. Yeah, I mean, that's up to you. It's not a bad idea. I would just get out of there as fast as I could if it was clear that, since I'll be honest with myself, I'm not there for the hobby. I'm there to find somebody. And if there wasn't somebody there, I think I would personally ditch that idea pretty quickly. Another one here is practicing your flirting IRL. If you feel like your flirting skills are a bit rusty, try practicing on someone first. That doesn't mean asking out the guy who took your order at Starbucks and told you to have a nice day, but you can and should test out a few compliments or smiling at a cute stranger to help boost your confidence and prepare you for the real thing. That is some good advice. It really is, because I mean, there's nothing to lose. Um, Nothing to lose at all. That's a good one. Practice your flirting. Um, IRL, I guess that means in real life, doesn't it? Another point here, take more solo adventures. Being alone and being lonely don't have to be synonymous. If you want to expand your romantic horizons, try taking a solo vacation, going to museums by yourself, or just exploring the town or city you live on your own. You never know who you might meet. While that is a suggestion in the article, personally with me, it wouldn't work. I hate going anywhere alone, except for, I don't know, maybe a walk or a ball game or something like that, where I want to get my thoughts. I want to watch something and get my mind off of something. But what would happen with me if I did that? I would end up getting miserable, because what I would do was, um, I would be staring at all the couples, and it would make me miserable. And that's happened a lot. One time we went on a vacation with a roommate I had, and we went to California, went to Disneyland or something, SeaWorld, and I hope they're not listening, but it wasn't his fault, but I had a miserable time because this was the 90s. I was very much struggling. That didn't help get it off my mind at all. Then I got Bell's palsy on the way back. So fortunately, eventually that went away, but no fun biting your lip all the time. So the solo adventures, that's something for you to think about, but it would not work for me. They do recommend making eye contact. You don't have to play coy with every new person you meet. Just make sure you're giving good eye contact to whoever you're on a date with. It'll make them feel heard, respected, and more eager to learn about you as well. So eye contact is good. It's a little bit more difficult if you're on the shy side and haven't been out with somebody in a while, but that's still good advice. And as we go through here, just anybody, feel free to talk about something that is a tip that worked for you when you were dating, or if you really disagree or agree with some of these pointers here for dating. That's what I'd like to discuss here mainly tonight. Another point mentioned was, don't push yourself to do things you don't enjoy on a date. Well, it's not a bad idea to try new things. If you're looking to meet new people, don't force yourself to do activities you already know you don't like. If you've tried archery, speed dating, which I have, or marathon training and found that they weren't good fits for you, pushing yourself to continue doing them will only make you miserable and likely to meet people who don't share your interests. So don't push yourself to do things that you don't enjoy. Has anybody done speed dating? Um, I know I did it at least once at a place downtown, and I mean, it's not new anymore. I just don't know if they still do that, but it sounded like a great idea. You are the guy, so you go. The women sit in the same table, I believe, and you get, like, I don't know, 10 minutes to converse with them. So you start, ready, set, go. You start this table, and you can ask them questions. You can take notes, which you should. I mean, because you want to be able to remember that person's name and maybe why you like them, why they caught your attention. And then they say, okay, stop. Now you go to the next table and the next table. And who knows? It could take 2 hours if it was 10 minutes. Might be less than that. Depends. But, maybe you can go over 12, 15, 20 dates, depending on how long it is. And then you turn your card in when you select somebody, and then they match, and you say that you would like their phone number, and then somebody has to gather up all these cards, and then they will compile them, and they will try to match everything up. And so if I said, I wanted to meet, I wanted to call up, XYZ, when exchange phone numbers, and XYZ said, yeah, they wanted my number. Well, then somehow somebody would get the number of the other person, and then you would have permission to call that person. So with that, the rejection is eased, because you never know um, if you got rejected. But then again, I guess you could say, well, I must have got rejected because nobody wanted to call me. But then, they might have wanted to call you and you might not have wanted to call them. So, there's that uncertainty about speed dating. And my one that I can remember occasion of doing speed dating, there wasn't anybody there that caught my eye that I really wanted to go out with. I mean, you're sitting right in front of this person, and you know, but it's quick, and you don't. I guess they say you don't. Uh, there's not much time to make a first impression, and you only can make one first impression. But while there's some things about speed dating I liked, I don't know. It didn't work for me, but I'm not saying it couldn't have in a different situation. Another point they make: don't put all your eggs in one basket. Who says you only have to date one person at a time just because you're over 50? Not every date is going to be a great match, so feel free to cast a wide net. There's no reason to feel guilty about going out with more than one person at a time before things get serious. Now, it's a little bit different in the Philippines, where she would prefer you to focus on her. I think all of them would, and so they can get married faster. And you know, Aiza made the comment the other day about some couple online. Now, why is it that you Americans take so long to commit? She that's the way she felt about that article. So it's different in the Philippines. Try dating outside your type. Has anybody done this? Even if you've always had a particular type, don't be afraid to try something new when you're back on the dating scene over 50. Just because you've only dated white collar professionals doesn't mean you won't have just as much fun with somebody working in a trade. And when it comes to physical appearance, dating someone who doesn't look like your exes can be an exciting adventure in its own right. Also, don't try to sound too young on your dating profile. You're over 50, so why are you trying to talk like a teen? Peppering your dating profile with millennial or Gen Z catchphrases will only make you seem out of touch. Be honest about why your past relationships didn't work. And I think this is a good piece of advice here. Once you're in a relationship with someone, don't be shy about revealing why your past relationships didn't go the distance. While it's best not to be outright unkind about your ex, revealing that you had different priorities in terms of your family or your career can help you and your new partner determine if you can see your relationship lasting. Also, listen to those gut instincts. If you've gotten a bad vibe from your date, don't brush it off. Those gut instincts are there to protect you. So if something feels off, don't feel bad about ending things. And don't assume that younger or older people who are interested in you have an agenda. While it may seem a bit strange at first to have someone 20 years your junior or senior ask you out, don't assume that they have ulterior motives in doing so. Just because you've never dated outside your age range before doesn't mean that every younger person who wants to be with you is after your money. Nor does it mean that someone older has a problem dating people their own age. So that has a lot of implications for international dating right there. Article mentions protecting yourself sexually, but my personal belief is don't even mess around with that. The best protection actually would be to make a good choice, get married, and then you never have to be concerned about that. Don't assume that marriage and kids are off the table, as one point they mentioned. Even if you haven't gotten married or had kids by 50, there's no reason to rule them out, they say. Not entirely. There are plenty of couples who tie the knot or have kids later in life. If those things are important to you, don't be shy about making that known when you start getting serious with someone. And for many of us, marrying a Filipina might be that opportunity for us to be a father and to raise a family. Another point is to allow yourself to have fun. That said, there's no reason to feel like your relationships have to be serious just because you're getting older. If you want to have a few casual flings, or if you never see yourself getting married, that's more than fine. Just be honest about these things with the people you're dating. Are you listening? JBud 5000. Nacky Dave. Welcome, Nacky Dave. Dave in Ohio. Where are you based? I am in the heartland, right in the middle of the country in Nebraska. Jay Bud, this article has absolutely nothing to do with online chatting girls in the Philippines, but these can be applied to the Philippines. These can be applied universally to a woman of any country. You just have to apply for it. So make that application. And I can't scroll through all these now or I will miss my place. Um, but just the very first thing about rejection, um, that's something that's going to have to be dealt with any woman, anywhere, any method, online, in person. And I think a lot of these tips can be used for that. So um, it can be dating in person. You just have to make application to it. It's about dating initially for people over 50, but I see application for people of any dating age in here. And so that's why we're doing this one. Now, for example, try not to compare your new relationship with your previous ones. You can get online with a Filipina and not be able to put to rest your other relationship, and it's just not going to work. And this really goes with anyone. Whether you think your former spouse is a virtual saint or a monster, it never pays to compare your current relationship to your old one. Every relationship is different. Telling your new partner the ways they're better than your ex, or cataloging the things they don't do that your ex always did, will always make them feel like they can never measure up. It's important also to cast expectations aside. In practice, dating after 50 can be very different than it was earlier in life. Health issues, complicated families, different wants and needs can make dating feel like a totally different ball game than it was in your 20s and 30s. So try to cast those expectations aside once you put yourself out there again. And then they say, don't be surprised if you get a little giddy. Those butterflies in your stomach, that impulse to check your phone to see if they've texted, all totally normal. Just because you're older doesn't mean you shouldn't be just as excited about meeting someone great as you were when you were in high school. Another point, don't immediately introduce them to friends or family. And I quickly introduced my wife to my family because, well, it was important. She wanted to meet them, and we quickly got engaged. But generally, they're advising against this. They say you may be excited to meet that aforementioned someone. Great, but don't assume that every relationship is going to be a lasting one. It can be awkward to feel like you're pushing your date into your inner circle. So wait until you're certain you're on the same page about your relationship before having him or her meet your family and friends. Now, it can be awkward in a situation with a Filipina because of stereotypes, and I have videos about that because you're gonna meet with criticism. It doesn't matter how legitimate your relationship with this woman is. Um, Somebody's going to take exception to it because they're not you. They haven't done any work vetting this person out, communicating with them, and so they take the easy way out and just, or maybe they're just jealous. And sometimes that's your family. So you might be very certain about your relationship. It may be a good one. Maybe your family just refuses to accept that. That would be tough. My mother and my aunt embraced Aiza from the start because they were used to seeing them once in a while on camera. And so then when Aiza got here, it wasn't anticlimactic, but they did know something about each other. But the advice here: don't immediately introduce them to friends and family. As far as dating women in the Philippines, I mean, I'd like to think that I've had videos talking about that. This this is many points about dating, not just over 50, but some principles and things to think about, and really just something to talk about tonight about getting back in and dating, or maybe you're right in the middle of something. You can share what worked for you, in your relationship, you can definitely talk about things that you shouldn't have done. Um, those kind of experiences. I'm just trying to get some conversation going here. Um, but yeah, these things, I can apply to somebody in the Philippines because that's primarily the only way I was able to do it for many years. Really couldn't get the ball rolling here, but I can see how these points would apply in person, and I can see how they would apply online, where many relationships start today, even from the other side of the world. Don't downplay your accomplishments. Playing dumb or making light of your achievements is no way to start a relationship. If you're proud of your career, your hobbies, or the children you've raised, don't feel obligated to say otherwise to impress your date. Anyone worth seeing you, again, will think it's exciting to discover what you're passionate about. Also, don't ditch your standards. Just because you're older doesn't mean you have to give up your standards when it comes to dating. You're still a catch, and the people you go out with should be too. So that person who suggested you drop a few pounds, belittle your career, or acted like they were doing you a favor by dating you can just slink back off to whatever hole they crawled out of. Also, another thing to think about, ask them out again if you had a good time. Even if you didn't make the first move, that doesn't mean you can't make the second one. If you had a great time with someone, go ahead and drop, "So when can I see you again?" into the conversation. Um, I remember doing that with probably the last date I had before I met my wife and got married. Went out to a coffee shop. It was still relatively nice in the evening as we went outside. And well, they talked and talked, didn't really, you know, talk much to me. But I got to hear a lot about them. And because I thought, well, this is something. And we kind of have a lot more to talk about since they didn't really ask me much about myself. I asked them, when they said they had a good time, I asked them that I don't remember what I said, but I did call them back, I think later that day, and I let them know I had a good time and I wanted to go out again, and they said that they would like to, but we never did. So sometimes we can both be tempted to say, yeah, we had a great time when we really didn't. And so I think it's important to be honest. And if it didn't go well, you didn't have a good time, I don't see any point in making the other person think something that isn't true. Just be honest without being insulting. Another point here, and we just have a few more. This is from bestlifeonline.com. Dating over 50. We're talking about dating and long term, big picture. Love Beyond the Sea will be about finding love from more than just the Philippines. I married a Filipina, but what I want to do is help men find a Filipina. I've learned that not all men are interested in Filipinas, but they are interested in women from other countries. And so for them, it's the same thing. They need motivation to look for somebody from another country, and hopefully, in time, being patient, the message board will be filled with conversation about women from all over. I mean, as much as I want everything done yesterday, I'm realistic enough to know that things are going to take hard work and then time. And Love Beyond the Sea is my personal experience with the women from the Philippines, but other people just need to find someone, and they may not be interested in a Filipina. I can certainly speak from experience with a Filipina, but this channel is about helping men find love overseas. It's not about showing people the inner workings of our relationship, because we don't think that would be interesting to other people. And if I do show something about us together, The number one reason for that is to help people see what it's like having a wife here, and trying to whet their appetite for the same thing. Some people are going to need less encouragement than others, but this is a channel definitely more about other people. I'm trying to use my life experiences to help motivate them to that end. So dating is something that it can invoke fear. You got to get to know somebody that knows nothing about you, nothing at all. And having said that, my wife wasn't interested in getting into every detail about my past. She felt like, well, don't worry about that. We'll build our future together. We'll start from today, and we won't think about the past. We'll just look ahead, and that's pretty much what we've been trying to do. How many dates did I go on in 30 years? 30 down years. Those are very bad years. I think I had 6. Now, I was working a lot, and of course, I go to the gym. I did that regularly for like over 30 years. And I worked, and I've always worked a lot. But, and church too, but church was not a good place to meet someone that was single. Church was a good place to meet somebody that had a boyfriend or a husband. And I think probably still seems to be that way today. I go to different churches. We just don't have any single women here. Well, then I just had to look for another place to go. And the place that I settled on still didn't have single women. But I liked the pastor because he knew I needed a wife, and he was determined to help me find one. And he certainly did. So he's earned the right to help me, give me his opinion when I come to him for some mentoring. And that's subject to another video to come, and a really good thing. But 6 dates, I would say that doesn't mean I only asked out 6 women. It just means I only got 6 attempts that actually happened, that didn't get canceled. Most of them, or at least 2 or 3, were more or less blind dates. This goes all the way back to when the internet wasn't even around. When you would go and look in a folder with, they had one page, probably one photo of a headshot, and some basic questions that they answered. It took up all of maybe one page, maybe the back of the page. And, that wasn't, there's not enough information. Having Skype and things like that is much, much better. And I think that's why I didn't consider overseas before then. One of the reasons anyway, because it's just so easy to communicate now. It's just more expensive, and you can't be with them together. But you can't do anything about that until you're comfortable with somebody, and then go out and meet them. I guess my point would be, all those years of nothing, and then you get all this interest from a Filipina, and you get married in 7 weeks and 5 days, and I've been married for 4.5 years, and have every reason that I'll be married until the day I die. So I don't think about being single anymore. I think I've only had one dream about it since I've been married. But marriage can do that. It can completely ease your mind of a whole lot of things. And yeah, I know that's depressing, but there's a lot of younger men and women who've never been on a date. Those are the years when they should be, because at least then I think you have an opportunity. Otherwise, people move away, from the people they went to school with. They go their separate ways. I don't know. It's just hard. It's hard to find somebody today. And it was very hard back then. One date every 5 years. Well, I guess the first date could have been, I don't even remember how these things ended. One woman didn't talk to me well, she did talk to me all night because she answered all my questions. She just never asked me anything about myself. And that's not the last one. That was a different person. And I actually got to a point after uh, eating and then going to a movie that I simply had nothing else to ask. And I don't think they learned anything about me except that I was good at asking her questions. But, you know, just totally one sided. Another one, thinking about now, was a blind date, which I did reluctantly. And they pretty much talked about themselves. And I didn't really have to ask them any questions. And then there was the other woman who was about 51, maybe. She was talking about her kids and her grandkids and whatever else, but it wasn't about me. And then the other three, I just don't. Oh yeah, I don't remember. One of them was from that early dating site, and I was a lot younger, and she was very young, um, but she had some pretty strange ideas, and and she dropped me, although I was interested in seeing her again. So those are bad things, but I don't have to worry about that anymore. Dating is a socialization skill that gets developed through practice. And you're right, Jay Butt. I mean, the more you can go out with somebody, especially if you can relax and not think like it's the end of the world, if you don't get another date, and better yet, not even look for that. The more at ease you get, well, of course, you're going to go home. You're going to feel like that wasn't so bad. And then you start, making small talk with people. It could be the cashier or whoever. And as we talked about earlier tonight, and going out with somebody again, and then you realize it's, that other person has their own insecurities and their own thoughts about how that's going to go. They get probably nervous about it too. So both of you might be a little nervous. And you're right, Jay Bud. The more you do it, the easier it gets, the more confident you get in yourself. And like anything, if you don't have a lot of experience in it, you tend to think the worst. Naki Dave, where is your Asawa from the Philippines? She is from Davao City, third largest city, is it, in the Philippines, progressive city. They have an airport there. It takes 4 flights to get there, from Nebraska to, either Chicago or Denver, maybe Detroit, who knows. And then you go off to Tokyo now. The routes have changed. Then you go to Manila. Then you got to go to Davao and take a taxi. So, it's a long trip. I've done it 3 times, and we're going to go back in about 20 days, believe it or not, less than 3 weeks. Get me on those planes again and those airports. And I hope to take a lot of video. I want to do lives out there. I want to upload a lot of videos. I've heard all about the slow upload speeds. I have no idea how that's going to work, but I guess there's only one way to find out. Sun Valen, good evening to you, sir. What's up? It's even worse. Dating women, they have millions of guys in their phones spamming them due to social media. So there's a time when social media can make it more difficult. So they can drop you in 1 second and forget about it because there are 1,000 others. Well, yeah, that would be a problem. But that sounds like you're describing a woman who isn't really in it for a relationship, in it for something else, maybe attention, maybe it's just, the sex ego boost, which goes from attention. Maybe they're competing with their friends about this, and they're just not serious. That's what I came across, Sun Valen, with what eHarmony, Match.com, Plenty of Fish, and there's always one more that I can never remember, but I did four of them. Christian Mingle, that's what it was. And it's just going through profiles, trying to contact people, and not hearing from them. I had two women um, from one. Maybe it was they're probably both, maybe both Plenty of Fish. Maybe they were split up. But these are two women in a different state that I was willing to. One of them, I was willing to go out there. It was about a 4 or 5 hour drive just to have lunch and show them that I was serious about it. And when I was serious about it, they just ghosted me. Another person was about 4.5 hours away in a different state, and we had plenty of conversation. And well, I thought I was going to go up there and meet them one day, and they just disappeared. So, I mean, it's really frustrating because you figure they're just using you, or who knows what. That's just the problem. It's too easy to just disappear. And when people today spend so much time online instead of face to face, guess what? If they don't like something, they can just disappear. They disagree with you. They don't have to talk to you about it. They can just disappear. And that's just terrible, terrible practice for a relationship, because there's going to be a lot of times when you in your marriage and dating where you're not going to probably like each other very well for one reason or another. You kind of have to develop some thick skin and learn how to handle those problems in the future, and just going from there. But it's always something with any two people that are together. I just find it hard to believe when someone says we never argue. We've been married 10 years and we've never had an argument. I just find that hard to believe. It's hard work, and some of the things I want to talk about in this channel are going to be about the things you have to do to last, because a successful lasting relationship is going to come with some pain. It just will. Everyone should get dumped once and have to dump someone. Well, getting dumped hurts. I'm sure it hurts bitterly the first time, especially if you really liked someone, um, especially if you're younger. It can hurt when you're older. I mean, how many times do you hear about people getting dumped and then going out and, like killing them or something, or going out and making their life miserable, or stalking them, harming them, scaring them, threatening them just because they got rejected. I mean, some people really, take that the wrong way. Dating teaches you the game. Well, if you pick up enough signals and signs that, you feel like, well, you know what, I think this is not serious, then that experience is going to teach you a lot. I never could get going enough to really learn much from experience there. Big E in Cebu, nice to see you here tonight. Big E in Cebu. Why do you suppose it was hard to find that in your town? Probably for similar reasons why it's hard for other people in their towns. I mean, when I got serious about this, when I was about mid 20s, about 24, that's the time you really normally, I think, would like to have something nailed down, somebody you're serious with, you're engaged, or you're already married. Some people have a couple kids by then, and they got married young, and 18 years old, 19 years old, and I think that's a good idea. I think, I'm very pro marriage. Getting married early is nice. I would have gotten married at 24 in an instant if I could have, but part of that probably was just not being serious, or knowing I should be serious up until that point. And now you're at a time of life when there's a lot fewer options because you have a lot fewer relationships going on by, let's say, a time you're after college age. Then people tend to start separating themselves, moving, settling down with the person they've known, uh, working in another state, moving, stuff like that. That was difficult. But you could say, well, what about church? Well, I've heard other people lament that church is a bad place to meet anyone. There are single women there that have boyfriends. Sometimes I think the single women just don't go because they don't want to sit there alone. I know one single woman, again, I never dated her, but I asked her out like 6 times. I mean, I was perseverant, but um, I asked her out 6 times, and she always said, "Yeah, yeah, I know, I will. I want to go out with you." Never did. Well, then I, called back a few days later. Well, then next time I waited a few weeks, tried it again. Even the last time, it was probably almost a year, and I still thought maybe, since they said they would go out with me, but they couldn't. And later on, I found out they had a rule where they would not date men in the church. They only dated men from a different church. So I can only assume they didn't want people prying into their business. They felt uncomfortable going to church, seeing them with some guy and everybody asking them, "Oh, who's that guy?" and so on. But then again, what's wrong with that? A lot of women would love that. But this person, I got nowhere, 6 times. So I don't know, Big E, exactly, because when you don't get answers, you don't know. You can really get down on yourself and think, "Oh my gosh, it's just me. I must be this terrible person that sends out terrible vibes." And then I go on the Philippines dating site, Christian Filipina. I join one day, I think it was March 13th, and then 59 days later, I'm married. I've been to the Philippines. I got married. 6 months, 8 months later, she's with me, and we've been married for 4.5 years. Really, it's gone by amazingly quickly, and it's made me forget about all of those days that I thought would never end. And now I don't even have to think about them, but those are replaced with other thoughts about maintaining the relationship that you have. J. Bud, all's fair in love and war. Remember that when you're dating. Um, well, as far as there will be casualties used, metaphorically, somebody is going to get hurt. And it's just the nature of the game. And the fear of rejection is very strong. That's why it's important not to internalize it, not to take it personally, not to go home and replay the date in your mind. Well, what did I do wrong? Was it this? Was it that? Is it the way I look? Is it something I said? I don't seem smart enough because I didn't go to college or whatever. You just have to keep swinging. If you just have to keep shooting the ball and swinging the bat. And sometimes though you gotta try something really outside the box overseas, which many of us have done, and very quickly been able to find someone that we're very happy with, that we don't know how we could have gotten the same quality person in our own country. Naki Dave, I assume that's Naki. Do you agree with Rike? He says long distance relationship is not a relationship. He said online girlfriend is just a pen pal. I don't agree with that. And the reason why, Enrique is not necessarily wrong, but I think we have both used the term pen pal to describe an online dating relationship where the man has known this woman for like, I don't know, 2 years, 2 years, 3 years. And that's not uncommon. And they have not met in person. The Filipina says, well, I have this boyfriend, in America, for example, and I've known him for 2 or 3 years, and they find out, well, excuse me, they've not met in person. In other words, this guy doesn't have the means or the motivation or the intention or desire to go travel to the Philippines to meet this woman. And I just don't understand it. That is a pen pal. Now, maybe she's okay with having a pen pal, except the Filipina often feels like it's a real relationship from that perspective of the Filipina. And I'm glad you brought this up, kind of touched on it earlier. That is, to me, that's not a relationship. And I have said I didn't get online to have a pen pal. I didn't get online to be able to say to myself or brag to people at work, oh, I talked to this woman, you know, last night. I talked to another woman there, and yeah, this woman here, we've talked about 6 months, or this other one, I've known her for a year online. You know, that's child's play with the Philippines because it's easy to get into communicating with a Filipina. It's easy. It feels good. But that's just, that's the very beginning. But that's a pen pal. If the guy has not seen her in so long and has no intention to me, that's a pen pal. That's not a relationship. That's not a relationship from the man's perspective. And I don't think that's a relationship from the woman's perspective. However, and obviously I can't speak for Rike because don't think I saw the video, but I believe the long-term relationship is a relationship if they talk exclusively. For example, many people have said, "Oh, we talk for hours a day." Well, that sounds like a relationship to me. You almost have to end up talking about important things if you're going to talk that much. Otherwise, it would be completely boring. So, if that guy has gone out there to see her in 2 or 3 months, um, which is not uncommon for guys that are serious about a relationship and not a pen pal, they'll go out there as soon as they can. Then they'll come back, they'll continue communicating, and then they'll start planning on a next date. I mean, a next trip when they're going to go and see this person again. And it all depends on their ability to get away. But let's say they go again in 3 or 4 months, and maybe this time they go back with the intention of marrying that person and beginning the visa process. All along, this guy has been thinking. He's been very proactive and intentional. He wants to get married. He did probably focused on one woman and then said, "Okay, we got to meet." So he went out there and met her, and then had to come back, of course, in a reasonable amount of time. And then right away, he's thinking, okay, well, I can't do it next month, but 2 or 3 months from now, I'm going back, and I'm going to be even more serious than I was the first time because I kind of got an idea, seeing them in the flesh, being with them, talking to friends and family, and they're probably thinking, if I don't propose the second time, I'm sure going to do it the third. So it's mostly online, but I think that would be a serious relationship because of the intent. The intent is to meet this person, to get married, not be talking for the sake of talking. I don't understand this. 1, 2 years and you've never met each other. To me personally, unless I'm missing something, I just would not call that a relationship. In our case, we got in 8 weeks and less, we were married. Other people, they get married in a year or two, and they probably met once or twice in there, and it's a relationship. You can't help that she lives on the other side of the world. It's your choice to pursue somebody from the other side of the world. But when you can turn on the camera and ask them anything you want, and talk about anything you want, and observe them and their body language, and meet their friends and family, that's as close as you can get. And if you don't miss some red flags, there's no reason you can't end up marrying that person. Big E in Cebu, that's correct. Long distance, unless it's for a short time, is not good. Long distance, unless it's for a short time, is not good. Yeah, I don't know how that would benefit somebody. Um, you know, maybe the Filipinos are just so jaded by foreigners that tell them they're going to meet them and never do, or marry them and don't, that they feel like, well, at least I've got this guy for, you know, 2 or 3 years, and I know he's going to come here because he says he is. Um, how is that? To me, that's 3 wasted years. And I hope that doesn't offend anybody that's in a certain situation like that. But, well, you're not going to live forever here. And, you know, 3 years. And then what? You go to meet them and break it off? You've wasted 3 years. I know when I was getting my wedding ring, ironically, the woman that sold me the ring, I think it was April 4th, 2015, after I proposed to my wife, I went out and got a ring, and she was telling me, oh, she was from another country too, I think Romania or something. And she said, yeah, I was telling her, of course, I can't help it, about my relationship. And she said, well, that's great, because I just got broken up by a guy that I dated for 5 years, and he just dumped me. 5 years. Well, in that case, she should have done something. She probably should have dumped him after a year or two if he wasn't getting serious. I mean, you don't have to get married as quickly as we did, but at some point, shouldn't there be some emphasis to getting serious sooner or later? Um, yeah, thanks, Big E, for being here. And J Bud says Rike is talking about guys chatting girls for over a year. Yeah, and sending money and thinking she doesn't have a local boyfriend. Well, yeah, then you really don't know what you've got. Yeah, Rike is pretty sharp and has you know, I like his channel. I still watch his videos. I just commented on one the other day. Um, when I see something, I think that's pretty astute, comment that can help other people, then, I'll chime in. But yeah, in that case, you're sending money and you haven't met, and she may have somebody else there. Um, so again, bad things can happen if you don't kind of single somebody out and focus on them, and focus on each other. Then they don't have time for anybody else. Then the Filipino likes that. I mean, if you're there to be serious about finding someone and she thinks you're not just playing games, she'll give you her time and attention. They might have a local one too. um, there's no commitment, like, will you marry me? Getting engaged, then I guess you know you have no right to claim that person. um, I once asked out a woman that was engaged to be married, and she was going to get married in like 2 weeks. I still asked her out. Why shouldn't I? If I thought I could be better for her than this other guy, um, I didn't care. I was confident in what I brought to the table. I wasn't so confident in him, but I lost that one too when he found out. When she told him, when he asked her where she had been, and or no, I think it was, no, it was she had a couple of kids, small children, and they said where she was, so he put a stop to that. But my point was, you know, it's all fair until they sign on the dotted line. It's like recruiting in college football or basketball. You still recruit people that have committed to other schools, because until it's official, you can change their mind. So that's kind of was my philosophy about that. Big E and Cebu, okay, so it's just hard to find someone who's on the same page spiritually. And you get older and harder. I see that men become solitary figures tragically as they get older. Well, I'm with you there, Big E and Cebu. And yeah, I don't want to do that. That's what's so good about that. I just, it all comes back to it's just natural to me. That's what I say. We're meant to be paired up with someone. I could have 5,000 women in this world potentially that I could have a good marriage with. I only need to find one, and I only have time for that one, not just when we were, uh, dating online, but now that we're married, I only have time for that one person, and there's no reason to think it couldn't have been. I don't believe in the one, as I've made a video on that. Some people feel like, well, what if I miss the one? Well, that could be a lot of people that are the one, but yeah, you know, I just it is I just sad. You get older, you get hardened. Solitary figures. I don't know. I don't know. I'd like to be able to get older someday and be able to think that when some young guy, uh, you know, talks about dating or relationships, that I can look back on some, the school of hard knocks and grinding it out in marriage, which sometimes you have to do, and learn how to communicate when you're, at odds with each other, and survive, not endure, but survive until you get things worked out, and working through things. And you know what? It gets easier to solve your issues in the marriage when you've been doing it for a while. Like, I notice our arguments are fewer and far between, and I think we get over them faster. Well, we've been married for 4.5 years, and so I think we get over that faster. But I sure hope I don't grow old. And one of my points in having this channel is for so people can not end up like that, older, solitary, hardened, maybe bitter, jaded. At least before you get to that point, don't you owe it to yourself to try something you have not tried before? Otherwise, the odds are the results will be the same as they've always been. And I think it's just wise to consider something else. One of the things you can do is find a wife in another country that's willing to relocate, somebody who has a good head on their shoulders, somebody where you see eye to eye with philosophically. I don't know. I don't even think having things in common is critical. It's nice, especially if the one or two things you have in common is really, really important. Other than that, you have time to develop things in common. You know, once you're together. Parabiology 101. Well, I appreciate the kind words, and I certainly hope your your disc gets better. I assume that's in your back. I've had problems in my neck and my back, so pick your poison. Neither one is very comfortable, and I hope you can get over that soon, because those flights, you're going to be doing a lot of sitting. Parabiology. When I went to the Philippines the first time, I didn't take any. Well, I'd never done anything like that before. For the flight from LA to Manila was 14 and a half hours. It felt like 14 and a half days. And I didn't have any pain pills, never thought of it. But I had a bad back. And um, it was terrible. It was really terrible. I spent a lot of time on that plane standing, um, and trying to walk around, go to the bathroom, stand some more, sit some more. It was awful. And in fact, I told my wife's mother. She said, "Are you going to come back to the Philippines someday?" And I said, "To be honest with you, I don't think so." I said, the flight took forever. My back was killing me. I don't think I can deal with this. And wouldn't you know it, I did go back, and then we went back again. And the flights are going easier now. I'm less antsy in the airports. And now I want to go out again in 3 weeks and start taking more film from the Philippines. Um, Big E, I respect that you didn't quit, but you went out and had the guts to do this. Well, I appreciate you saying that, Big E. And uh, it does it does take some guts. I had never flown outside the country before. I didn't even know I needed a passport. I'd never needed one before. Never had any reason to know who. I just figured that was somebody important, that you know had to fly certain places. So I thought, okay, all right, I need to do that. So I went out and I got one. Luckily, they had a passport weekend, and right after I got engaged, so I waited in line all day, expedited it. When they finally got to me, then I found out about vaccines somehow. I don't even know how I found out about all this stuff, but it was just one step at a time. Okay, now let's get to the airport. Now what do I do? What do I do at this kiosk? I don't know what to do. So I have to ask people what to do. Get to Los Angeles and the flight's already boarded because I wasn't in the right place. So I did get on the plane, although I think they were late because of me. They were boarded and I just showed up. So that was almost a miss. Just one thing at a time. All I cared about was that destination. Keeping my eyes on the prize was that little woman in Davao City, Philippines, that I had been chatting with for a while. So I did it, and there were no regrets. One of the videos I made was about having no regrets. You know, I know a guy at work that told me, yeah, he wishes he had done something like I did when he was younger. He's not that old now. I mean, I'm older than he is. And he said, well, when he's married now, I think, or has a girlfriend, but he said he just didn't have the guts to do it. He just couldn't do it. And I know another guy at work that doesn't work there anymore, but he said basically the same thing. He was always attracted to women from another country, wasn't the Philippines, but he just couldn't do it. So I hope, and I know I have because they've told me, but I want to motivate other guys to say, well, what do I have to lose? If this ordinary guy Bob can go to the Philippines after having struck out so many times. Why can't I? At least watch some videos, come on the lives, ask questions, contact me at the email that's in the description box. Um, Others have done it, and they'll continue to do it as things in the West, you know, decline the way they have been. Rike didn't marry anyone. This is true. Did he waste his 6 years there? Um, well, his 6 years there, but he didn't have a 6 year relationship with someone. And it all comes down to purpose. Now, did Rike go there with the intention of, I'm here to get married? Was that what he told himself? Was that what he told other people? Or was he just trying to see what life was like in another country that he had thoroughly researched? And of course, you go to the Philippines, you're interested in a relationship. Um, his circumstances are different than mine. I can understand him being more hesitant, and I can understand myself being more throwing caution to the wind because of, we're coming from different places. But that is the only reason. Well, I'm not even living there, but we may someday. But yeah, I got on a dating site for the express purpose to get married. That was it. Um, Enrique's case, only he can say, what his objective was and how important that was to him. So a waste of time, that's not for me to determine. I know when you are making the effort to do something, you shouldn't look at it as a waste of time. Waste of time is just being lazy. And if you're not making the effort to approach someone locally, you're not making the effort to maybe find somebody overseas, well, yeah, you might be wasting your time. If your goal is to find a wife, then I guess you would be wasting your time if you didn't structure your day and your life around finding that person, because you are running out of time. Running out of time to live, not to mention running out of time to enjoy the fruit of your labor, finding somebody. And I know that he is has interest in a woman now, and he very well may settle down with her. I think he'd be happier if he makes a good choice. Just I think almost all of us would be if we can find a good choice. But no, if he didn't go there, from day one looking to get a wife, and I wouldn't say it was a waste of time. Big E, my goodness, I knew so many men back in the States who ended up getting married to the couch until they died. It is much better to find those guts and find someone. Well, there is risk. I did a video on risk about going to the Philippines and looking for a wife from the Philippines. There are risks. It's easier just to not have rejection or to spend money on someone or time and not have it get anywhere. But you know, I think about this and I think about the athletes that I like. The athletes that I like, the ones that are successful, play with they play with no fear of failure. They want to win. They want to excel. They're not afraid of the odds or the opponent. They may know they're not the biggest, strongest, maybe not the fastest, but they use everything they have to beat the guy in front of them, whatever position that is. And they're relentless. They have confidence, and they're just unafraid. Or if they are afraid, they are somehow more afraid of not accomplishing the goal than they are, of failing. They don't want to. They would rather go down giving their very best effort. Then they can live with the outcome. But I love to see athletes just go out and play without fear. But the fear of the score, the situation, their inexperience. They just play with their hair on fire, and I love to see that. I mean, and in life, you kind of have to live that way too. You can't be reckless, but if you're there for a reason, they're there to play football, for example. They should play like they can do it, like they can compete, despite their size or their age or whatever. I like to see that. Um, so again, all anyone can do is just try to say, you know, this is what worked for me. This is what other people are doing. They've gone overseas to find a mate. And of course, they didn't have as many things in common as they might with somebody from where they were from. But they didn't give up. Now, when I finally got married, I was very happy about that. And so I tried to contact people I knew in especially the recent past, who I had broken off connection with, to tell them that I had gotten married. Now, for whatever reason, most of them I never heard back from, so I don't know. These are people I kind of wonder what they would say. Do they really think I'm trying? Well, I wasn't really out to please them. I was out to please, compete against myself and my own reluctance or my own fear or my own insecurity. And I kept my eye on the goal. The goal was to get married, and to fail, to try and to keep trying. I mean, to me, that would have been failure. I never allowed myself to think about what if it didn't work, and maybe that's what you have to do. I don't know. I never gave myself that option, is even though I felt like I was hanging on by a thread, and I didn't know how in the world I was ever going to get married, not to mention, have somebody to get married to, a steady girlfriend. Well, the answer was, yeah, I was going to get married soon if I just didn't give up. I could have given up, but I didn't. And because of that, I got married in less than 8 weeks, and we've been married 4.5 years. You know, my wife is 27 years younger. She's an excellent wife to me. I, um, I have to pinch myself. And someone could say, "Well, you just got lucky." Well, I didn't get lucky. I earned it. I went out and I found a website, and I joined that website. It was a pay site, so I had to pay that. I talked a lot to the customer service, the staff there, and I kept my lists, and I dedicated myself to it. And then when I started talking to women, I take notes and try to do another chat. And then I met my wife, and we went kind of focusing on each other, going steady, and we got married. I zipped right over there. Was there risk? Well, I guess there's always risk, but you have to take calculated risks. You can't be so afraid, that the trouble is lurking, around the corner. I mean, you can't be foolish, but you're in charge of who you communicate with, and how well you communicate with them. And um, I don't know, it went pretty smooth. The same guy that couldn't get anywhere for whatever reason, been happily married for 4.5 years. And being married is a lot different than being single, and but it's very rewarding, and teaches you a lot. And so I want to help other guys who could have been like me. I don't want to be someone that says, "Hey, I gave up at 53 looking for a wife. I want you to give up looking for a wife too." And I suppose if I was that blunt about it, they would probably slap me. Um, so I didn't give up. And I think people, even at work, when I went to the Philippines, didn't believe that I was there to get married, because, it all happened so fast. But who says it can't happen fast? Yeah, parabiology, Big E, um, and parabiology 101 is, as well as Big Rob, who was on here earlier. Um, they're going to one, the Philippines, to have a relationship with somebody, and Big Rob to another country. Um, Men are doing that when they've decided, I've waited long enough here. I don't think I'm going to have any more success where I'm at. So I'm going to see what country out there gives me a better chance to get married, so that I can enjoy, the things that a committed relationship can have. Now, people, well, not all people, but there's the term ball of chain. Marriage is a ball of chain. I don't think it's a ball and chain. Um, what it is focus. I get to focus on my wife. I have somebody that can take care of me. We can help each other when the other is down, emotionally, mentally, physically, sick or something like that. And it's a great thing, and it's a very normal thing. Um, if you made a good choice, and I think you made a good choice, even though we didn't know each other very long, and I knew full well we'd continue to learn about each other after we got married, which you're going to do anyway. Well, you answered one of the biggest fears, that the girl will leave once she gets the green card. You made it nearly 5 years. Well, yeah, run. And my wife doesn't even want to stay here after I die. Like many Filipinas who are willing to relocate, their preference would be, if circumstances were a little different, to be in the Philippines with that gentleman. And sometimes that happens if he's open to it. Um, I know there's a lot of concerns I have. I've got 5 or 6 videos I'm going to make before we leave about retirement. And this is a trial run. Retirement trial run is we live in our house in the Philippines for the first time I'll be there. And yeah, we've got some family living there too. So I don't suppose that'll be different when we finally make the move. So I think I think I can do that. I know my wife is happier that way. We're just going to see how that goes. And you know, yeah, if she wanted to leave for a green card, she could have done that by now. But she's working a lot of hours. We both have our house that we're paying for. We have paying. She's helping me with some bills here too, and she's got her own car. And one of the things that I was thinking about when we were talking about long distance relationship, and is it a relationship? And is if you are planning, if you have goals together with that person, then yeah, that long distance relationship is a relationship. Because if it's not a relationship, you don't have plans, long term plans, intermediate term plans with that person. Your plans don't mix with theirs if it's not a relationship. So if you're talking about your future, that's a good thing, and a sign that it's definitely a relationship. So yeah, we made it 5 years. There was never really any concern on my part about that happening. Um, Let me just rip off a few more here, just a couple more to finish this off, because I don't think I quite did. Oh, okay. Uh, don't feel obligated to go on a second date if the first one didn't work out. Don't feel a connection with your date. Don't waste your time or theirs by going on a second one. No matter what your age, there are plenty of fish in the sea, and there's someone out there who will find that you will find that connection with. So it can be tempting to say, "Oh yeah, sure," it's better than being alone. But in that case, probably better to let them go find somebody else. The last thing here they mentioned in Best of Life Online was most important thing to remember when you're dating over 50, this is supposed to be fun. So try to enjoy yourself. And, I'm a pretty serious guy, pretty focused guy. And so I had my strategy. What was it fun? Yeah, of course it was fun. You go from, not having anyone all this time to having somebody to talk to in the morning when you're eating your breakfast, to talk to when you before you go to bed, and maybe text once or twice at break or at lunch or after work. That's very exciting, and it worked out for me. So these dating tips here that I've been talking about are really for people of any age and can be employed when looking for love beyond the sea, which is hopefully what many of you will be able to do. I'll have a list of these things if I can squeeze them all in the description box. So I know there's 9 people here tonight. If you want to talk about anything else, that's fine with me. Um, I'm going back to work next week. Thanks for the thumbs up. I wasn't able to see those, by the way, while I was looking at my notes. So I appreciate that. We can talk about anything. This is your chance to do that. So going back to work, which means less time for the channel, but since I've been home with knee replacement and then nerve damage in my foot, I have worked quite a bit on the channel. I mentioned earlier, Mr. E has made that WordPress site, which is above there in the live chat. You can get articles, some videos from my wife there, her channel, some Mr. E commentary, brand new message board with direct messaging, and you can sign up for the newsletter if you want to know when the next live will be, because I'm never too sure until I decide on that. That's all there for you, and he's as serious as I am about helping this channel grow, and I really don't have much desire to sit here and talk about my life or my wife's, um, I have to share some thoughts, of course, and experience, but I'm trying to motivate people to be serious about finding someone overseas. Some of my subscribers have, others are in the process of doing that. And so, again, I'll mention that most of the watch minutes to Love Beyond the Sea are by people that are not subscribers. So, I'll just ask um, non-subscribers to consider subscribing if they like the videos and the content. I try to mix in some scenes with Aiza um, and mystery commentary and just insights into relationship with a Filipina. Yeah, Big Rob, thanks for pointing that out. You always encourage people to look for opportunities abroad, and I think we need to do that, Big Rob, because why wait 10, 15, 20 years or more and then realize you're not getting any younger and the opportunities don't seem to be there. Yet they are there. You just can't see them because they're way out there in another country. But you can get real close, by communicating online. Big Rob says it's really an eye opener and really stretches your mind. Opportunities abroad. It does. It does stretch you. I had a dream right before I woke up that I was in our Philippine house that I've never been in, even though it really wasn't our Philippine house. It was a place, and it was raining. And I remember thinking, looking out the door, boy, this is my new place to live. I can't believe this. You know that I'll be doing videos on what my concerns are about retiring there, what I think I would miss about being here, and so on. And what do I plan on doing with myself at retirement? I'll make those and put them out before we leave. And the whole thing, a lot of the videos will go in a playlist about uh, expat trial run. We're just going to see because, in 4 years, 5 years, we may be there for good. And that would be my new home. And that's frightening to me. Um, to be honest with you, I'm one of those guys that is quite content to not have a lot of change. Um, but that's just, the sacrifice I make because she's going to be happier there. And it could be a very exciting life for me there. I just don't like the heat. Now, when we went one August, it was not that bad. But if you can avoid March, April, May, that helps because it is hot over there. And I'd rather have cold weather, to be honest with you, than that kind of heat. But anyway, that the locals do it. Of course, they're used to it, but we're just gonna have to see. What am I gonna eat while there? I don't know. I don't want to get sick with some mosquito bite that would never happen here. I don't know. There's always something to be. There's always something that can stand in a guy's way of his destiny and reaching for a goal without giving up. You're always going to have to go over something, around something, or through something. And I know, Big Rob, I'm sure you've had a lot of thoughts with yourself about pros and cons about what you're doing and what the future might look like. But you can only go so far in your mind before you realize that, I really can't make any decisions further out than this. So let's get this far and then go from there. Big Rob says, two of those things are about to happen. So I say to each and everyone is to dream and have a plan to make it happen. Very good. And with dreams, though, sometimes, dream is a nice sounding word. It's a nice ending, but that doesn't mean it's always going to be nice going through the process. They can be roadblocks, but just got to be focused and and just be resolute that, you know, this is gonna happen. I'm gonna find somebody, even if I have to do this. 88 degrees in Davao in December. Well, Big E, I'm sure it is. I've got their temperatures on my phone, and it's usually, high of 88, low of 85, or maybe I'm exaggerating, but that 88 doesn't feel like 88. My wife thinks it's hotter here in Nebraska, United States. I think it's hotter in the Philippines, but there's something about the heat in the Philippines. But I think I drink more water out there than any other human being. I mean, you can get really big waters, and man, I might as well just have one of those 5 gallon water containers, and I could probably go through that all day, take about 3 showers, keep changing clothes. Man alive, I don't know about that. We'll see. Maybe I'm making things worse in my mind than they will be out there. But Big E, I certainly wish you well in your journey. 84 in Cebu now, where I live. Right? You like the heat since I grew up in a warm climate. Did you? I can't see your picture from here because it's just too small. Big E. Have you always been in Cebu? Are you a Filipino, or did you move there from Florida or something like that? But I'm glad to see you here tonight, and I appreciate your thoughts and your contributions here tonight to the live stream. So in Cebu, it's 10:26 in the morning. So yeah, 84 degrees. I've never been to Cebu. We might someday. My wife went there for her, what do they call it? Conference for overseas Filipino workers, something like that. You grew up in Los Angeles and lived in Phoenix for 10 years. Well, yeah, that's hot. They can get up to 110 there, but then some people say it's not as hot as it sounds like it would be, but it sounds pretty hot to me. 2 years in Makati, 4 in Cebu. Well, it sounds like you're pretty much stationed there. Do you ever visit Big E? Do you ever visit any of those locations in the United States, or have you made pretty much a permanent move, more or less? We're still, we're 4 years maybe from retirement, but one of the things we have to figure out is if we're going to, or how often we're going to come back here. Do we get a smaller condo to store a bunch of stuff and maybe a car, and who knows, come back for 1 or 2 months a year, or just never? I don't know. Big decision, but we're going to have to do something about that one of these days. You travel all over with your work. Okay, go back to States twice a year. Well, that sounds like an interesting job then. I never wanted to travel until I met my wife. And then we went to Paris, which is only 9 hours from here, basically. 9 hours from Omaha. And Philippines, about 24, 26 hours of flights and a ton of layovers. And just coming back from our trip that will be going on soon, we have like a 12-hour layover in Tokyo that precedes a 13-hour flight. Or maybe it's probably 2 hours less going back because of it's always that way. Anyway, that's just wow. I don't know. That's just what it is, to be traveling to the Philippines from here. But Paris was really cool. And now I want to go to Italy someday. And that's why I'd like my wife to get her citizenship, to make it easier for us to travel when we're in the Philippines, because I would like to do that. And it was a great experience. I'd like to go back to Paris again. And I feel like we kind of rushed through that a little bit because there was so much to see. and I would love to see Italy. Um, I never had that desire, but you know what? You don't know what you don't know. You don't know if you would like something if you don't experience it, and it was really good. Um, all over the world with your work, you probably go to rich countries, poor countries, and everywhere in between. That sounds like a very interesting job. Maybe one day I'll be in Cebu. Wee Man, thank you for being here. Shout out to Bernie Gers living his best life. Well, I am living my best life now. I just don't know who Bernie Gers is. So, whoever he is, I hope he's living his best life now. I know I am. Not that there weren't good moments in those 53 years. I don't know who his brother Nick Gers is. There must be something I'm missing here. Big E, who is Bernie Gers and his brother? Oh, I should probably block you. You know, now is the time to see if I can do that. Maybe I can. See, I have another skill here, and that is removing people from the board. Maybe Michael and Heidi isn't here yet tonight. I just did the live stream unannounced. Big E and Cebu, I handle all of Asia and Middle East, Australia, and New Zealand. But I'm with you, I don't like flying. You should be, yeah. Just because you do it a lot doesn't mean you're gonna like it. And you probably have some pretty mean layovers. I need to deal with a couple trolls here. I need experience doing this. He may be a real guy, but he's being removed. Timeout, whatever you want to call it. So it's just removal is just a click away here. So Big E and everybody else here tonight. Appreciate everybody who's here. List is too long to scroll through, but appreciate everybody being here. I like doing the lives. Most of the time I have a topic. Sometimes I don't. And so I thought this time we would just come up with a topic, and there's a lot more to come. So appreciate everybody with what they said tonight, and I hope everybody has a good weekend because it's already getting to be that time of week. And again, sign up for the newsletter. I can let you know in advance when we would do another live stream. Otherwise, we'll just have to see how it goes. And I appreciate your comments, Big E, and I was glad to meet you here tonight. Hopefully, we will see you again. Yeah, first time seeing me live. I may not look like I'm live, but I am. I shouldn't be so self-effacing, but I don't know. It's late, and I get a little silly. Hopefully, we'll see you again, and in 3 weeks, like I said, we're going to the Philippines, and I want to shoot some stuff out there. Of course, everything has to be approved by my wife. But I'd like you to see a little bit what family life is like, and how we spend some time there. I don't know what's going to happen, but I do want to take some videos. We'll be going to Tokyo for a 6-hour tour, private tour, since we have that 12-hour layover. That'll be on the way back. So, I just want to take as much film as I can, and hopefully the channel will continue to grow because I'm not doing this for fun. I hate to say it. Probably won't be the last time I say that, but I To me, the reward is people learning about having a relationship with a woman from the Philippines or anywhere else. Long-term goal, we get people on the message board who have found wives from different parts of the world who can help other people with their experience, motivate them to be involved with them in chats and the message boards, and we'll just see how it goes. But and then again, hopefully we will be on BitChute with the videos on there, just in case something happens with YouTube someday, or I don't know, I say something too controversial or whatever. We can have the videos up on there. So yeah, we're with the help of Mr. E, we're doing all we can to help men out there find a wife overseas. And I'm going to let everybody go. It's a long stream tonight, which I can do if I'm not, like working the next day. So we'll see. I have a feeling the lives will be on different days of the week. And Aiza, my wife, I want her to be on there with some lives. If you haven't seen us together, you can just check out that. And that may not be until next week. There's a slight chance we could do one tomorrow, but after doing one today, I'm not sure I even want to, but we'll see. So I have enjoyed it. I always enjoy talking to people here, and faces I'm familiar with and new faces too. And thanks for your positivity and good comments. Everybody enjoy the rest of their night, and have a good weekend. This is Bob from Love Beyond the Sea.